Today, guys, we continue the podcast because there's so many narratives going around about AI music destroying the music industry, how AI is just this evil thing. All these tools are being used against you guys to make you think that it's of your cause. They're using us as music artists because they know we're passionate, because we'll carry a message and that will sway other people. So a lot of people are being deceived on a core level to rile us up, to get us to demonize this thing because they want us away from the thing that will actually free us. Okay, as you guys have seen, for example, when these record labels came after Asuno, came after Udio, they didn't just say, "Hey, close the business." They said, "We want to use the business." So if they're demonizing something and something is so evil, why would they want to control that thing? That's common sense. They want to be the first ones to those specific tools before the people, because if they can basically get to the tools before everybody else, it doesn't matter how decentralized AI becomes. They will begin to centralize the on-ramps, okay? Because their job as a music industry is to eliminate the competition at the source. And they couldn't control AI music generation at the source. So that's why they went after the tools that generate the AI music. And if they can if they can create a story that demonizes AI music, they will keep you away from using the tools, therefore lowering the supply they have to worry about, going against their catalogs, which is all they care about, is exploiting catalog. Okay, we're talking about songs from 1950s, 60s, 70s. How many movies can they put out about timepieces? How many timepieces can they put out, with the music embedded? How many video games can they monetize the music with? There's so many things that these music industry people try to do, and they understand that new competition is a threat. Okay, it has always been. And so they try to create these narratives and put these seeds in you guys' head to make you demonize these tools, because again, it's in their best interest, because they're trying to monopolize and control a catalog. There's also language saying that the music industry is just going down. Look, guys, here's the stats. These are real reports from the top companies that other companies report on. So basically, this is the source for other companies to even talk about their results. Look at this chart. You don't even have to know statistics and math and all this complicated language. All you got to do is just look at this chart. Is it going up? Is it going down? Okay, so from 2000, it went down because we were transforming the medium in which music was being monetized. This is when we transferred from CDs over to digital music. They didn't know how to monetize digital music, however. And they would demonize things like Napster and all the different apps out there because, again, they wanted control. They couldn't figure out how to monetize, so they went after these companies who figured out how to actually be relevant in the new era. Okay. And basically what we saw is a transformation. So the red that you guys see on the screen is the physical. Let me see if I can zoom in just a little bit. Boom. So the red you guys see, these are the physical sales. Okay. Clearly going down, and never to go back up dramatically, because that's just the nature of like technology. We're not going backwards. We're not going back to cassette tapes, CDs, and all this old technology, because it makes the current technology too bogged down. Like, for example, I have a Mac Mini. It does not have a CD drive. It doesn't have it doesn't even have USB, like the traditional USB. Okay. It has USB-C. Okay. So I guess my point is, when you move forward with technology, we're not going to hold on to old tech just for the sake of holding on to old tech. It just bogs everything down. The speed, it bogs down the weight, it bogs down so many characteristics, the design. So I personally cannot see, there's a narrative going around that physical's coming back. We can clearly see it's plateaued. Okay. So it went down and it's plateauing around 5 billion. I guess this represents billions, right? Yeah, in the billions. So it's sitting around 5 billion. Now, what they don't tell you about physical, okay, whether this is counting merch, I'm not sure, in terms of like t-shirts and stuff. But what they don't tell you about physical goods is that there's a low margin. So yeah, you might make 5 billion, but if you only take home 10%, you really only have $500 million, which sounds like a lot of money. But when you divide that across a lot of people, it's not a lot. Let me make sure I did that math right. Hold on. So 500 million. If I said the number wrong, I meant to say 500 million is the proper number there in terms of 10% margin. Okay, so it sounds like a big number, and it sounds like this creative outlet that will just resurrect into a renaissance, but the stats are very clearly showing that it went down to probably its lowest, and it's barely going above its peak. It just had what's called resistance right here at 5. Okay, now it went up to 5.3, so it is kind of going upward a little bit, but we have to see for 2026 what those sales are to really see if this is going to just top out. So my point here is just to say the narrative going around that you guys could just make physical and that will solve all your problems with digital, that's a lie. Okay, it's a lie being sold because they could simply sell you a course or a service. Hey, I'll go source your stuff from China. We'll buy some USBs for, $1 USB. You sell it for $10. It sounds lucrative until you realize that the consumer can't even consume your stuff. You can't, if you sell CDs and nobody has a CD player, what's the point of the CD? It has to have utility. And here's where I think music really had its turning point. So on Twitter, I recently said this about Yu-Gi-Oh! Because I had a realization. I said, your music is like Yu-Gi-Oh! Art. Yes, it's fire, because I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Art has some of the best art on the planet next to Pokemon. And I said, your music is like Yu-Gi-Oh! Art. Yes, it's fire, but what made Yu-Gi-Oh! Legendary is not just the art. It was the storyline. It was the anime paired with an actual game that you could actually play. And I said, it's more than art. It's about applicable art with utility. It's a world that gives meaning and significance. And what I mean by this is what separated, in my opinion, Pokemon from Yu-Gi-Oh! The reason I never continuously played Pokemon outside of the video game, the cards were never important to me outside of collecting because it didn't have a utility. All I was doing was collecting. And that's what most people are trying to sell, is somebody collecting something. Like, oh, I'm just selling a CD because I'm selling a collector's item. Yeah, you have certain people that are motivated for that. But most people, when they spend money, they want to... Sorry, my son distracted me. But going back to my thought about collecting versus utility, for example, collecting would be when you're a super fan, your identity is the collection. I think that's why a lot of people identify with super fandom or like a specific genre, and they collect, not necessarily listening to the music all the time, but they're collecting it because it is them. Okay, it's a mirror of themselves. People who are looking for utility might be looking for drum kits, MIDI packs, education, might be looking for plugins, things you can actually apply and have fun with music. Chord Code, my Chord Code app, for example. Okay, piano lessons. You guys can name all the applications of music. There's utility. Even going to concerts, for example, is a utility because it's pulling the culture together so that people can be, galvanized into one place. And also there's utility in simply like, for example, when I have a dope song that I find or used to find, I would wind my window down and blast the music out the windows wherever I was going, to the gym, the grocery store, whatever, because the utility in that case is one, showing my identity, the tribe I belong to. That's a signal or a symbol for seeing where your tribe is, for example. That's part of it. But there's also utility in putting people onto new music. Whenever you guys see and hear the newest, dopest song, it's like, what you see people go like, what is that? Or they may ask you, what is that? It's like wearing cologne, for example. Like I have little decants of cologne right here. Part of me wearing cologne is not just to collect it, to not wear it. It's a utility. I want to smell good, and I want people to I want to add a mystery element to myself. And sometimes people ask you, what cologne is that? The same thing with music. You can't see it. So people have to ask you, or it has a mystery element simply because you can't see it. So there is utility in blasting music out a window to identify your tribe, to identify who you are, and also to call upon people of the same tribe, but to have a reaction most of the time. That's why people blast music. Okay, so there is a utility for music. There's a utility for music to set an emotion, for example, at a venue. Whenever you're at a restaurant, you might have smoother music. They play stuff like, they might go down here. You may have softer stuff like that, more jazzy stuff like that. But when you're in your car going to the gym, you have the utility of using music to pump you up, to give you the energy you need to push that bench press. My point is, music has a utility. And there's many different use cases for music: to add it to a video game, to liven up a venue, to give even like echolocation, and like, for example, video games, sound itself is very important in a video game. You need to know where your enemies are. Like when you get Turtle Beach headphones, you could spot your enemies around you because you could hear them more precisely. So sound and music have a utility, and that utility is expressed in the different mediums. Hopefully I'm making sense. So my point is that utility can be expressed in a restaurant, in a video game, in a movie, or it simply could be expressed in your car when you're blasting music. Okay. So there's many different mediums music can go into. Music is like a spirit. It goes into the medium and it monetizes that medium. And most people are trying to sell the spirit of music. How do you sell the spirit of music if the ultimate goal is to put it into a medium to sell? We're not buying music, we're buying CDs. We're not buying music, we're buying a night out at a restaurant. We're not buying music. We're buying cultural gatherings at a concert. Pardon me. We're not buying music. We're buying the motivation to push harder at the gym. See how we're not selling music? And that's the confusion that most people have. We're not buying music. We're buying an iPhone. Okay. So that's what we have to transition into thinking. And let's go back to these stats and graphs. I don't want to get too philosophical around it. But as we see, if we zoom out on this research here, let me just scroll down. It says 837 million users of subscription accounts, 6.4% global revenue growth, 8.8% growth in subscription streaming revenues. So please tell me where the music industry is dying. Please show me. Anyone can, please show me where this is happening. I have other reports. That one is a little detailed. We don't have time to be going through everything about this report. I could just kind of eyeball different things. Let's see what this tab here is about. My internet's a little slow. So in 2025, it says figures by format. It says 8% physical revenues rebounded and grew at a faster rate than any other format and added 390 million in revenue. Global physical revenues amounted 5.3 billion and grew 8% in 2025. But this is 8% from when it went down. So growing 8% back up to where, for example, if you look at this graph, let me switch sides here, y'all. Sorry, y'all. I don't know why my screen's kind of crawling right now. But again, yeah, it grew 8%, but it went down the year before to 4.9. So it's not just because you see a growth doesn't mean it's actually growing. It's just going back to where it was. Okay. So in that case, that's my argument for the physical numbers here. So it makes it look like it's growing, but really it's just going back to where it was. It says streaming 7.7%. Streaming grew at 7.7% and added 1.6 billion in US revenue. This took the format's total revenues to over 22 billion. You guys have to remember, music is used on social media to make sense of the actual social media post. That's why a lot of music is exploding. It gave more meaning to TikTok and cultural connections and memes, for example. TikTok is basically run by music if you really go watch TikTok. Okay. So I guess my point in showing all this is when people say the music industry is dying, I think these are localized perspectives because they're not looking at the greater picture. Then it says synchronization when you put your stuff in TV and video games, for example, or advertising. It says down 2%. Revenues declined in 2025 after 4 years successive growth and totaled 641 million. Performance rights. This is going on tour and stuff. It says performance rights revenues reached 2.9 billion in 2025, grew by a modest 0.3%. The fifth successive year of revenue growth. The revenues are collected by the MLC and are derived from the use of sound recordings and music video, mostly in public performance and broadcasting. Performance rights generated 9.3. Okay, so it says downloads and digital, so down 5%. So we can make an argument for all these micro changes in the genre of what's happening in music, but the total picture is showing more and more revenue into music. Okay, so let's go to a different study here. So this one says global recorded music revenues up 9% in 2025. This one talks about different use cases like fraud and bad actors and different things. If I could zoom in, I don't know how to actually do it. Let me see if I do this. Okay, can zoom in. So this is, I believe, is a European journal here, if I'm not mistaken. It says digital growth powers 13.97 billion euros global royalties for creators. 11.2% increase in digital revenues driving most of the global growth. Digital revenues, not physical, not live shows. Because the number one thing people say about AI is, well, AI can't do a live show. Is that where the revenue is in live shows? No. I mean, yes, but no. Yes, for some people, no for a majority of people. That's what I mean. All right. Then it says the forecast for the music market in 2025. Global music market revenues in the billions and percentage of growth. We see the global recording music revenue is up at estimated to go up to 200 billion, which is really insane. In 2024, it says growth rate, right axis kind of has a little jiggle, sawtooth, but the main thing is the trough is higher than the past trough. So there's growth here. All right. So this chart's a little bit more convoluted to read, not gonna lie to you guys. Publishing revenue. And this is global live music. So global live music sits at 69. Oh, these are estimated. My bad. Let me go back to 2025. So 2025, 38 billion in live performance. Then it says in 2025, 20.5 billion in publishing revenue. Then it says in 2025, 54 billion for just general global revenue tied to music. So when people keep telling me the industry is dying and it's just flaming apart, what are they talking about? They usually have no data, no research, no anything to back up their stance. And it's just all emotional and all just to get you to fear AI. I'm going to end this video because this was like supposed to be part of the last video, but I forgot to talk about this. So it's kind of like part 2 of the last video. But the main thing is that you guys will start seeing a lot more of is AI fear mongering, because they want to keep you away from the tools that you need to actually free yourself. And I don't just mean AI music. That's where people take words out of my mouth and spin them. No. When I say you need to learn AI, I'm talking about Claude Code. I'm talking about OpenAI's Codex. I'm talking about get your hand. Let me find my tweet. Hold on. This is the last point I'll make today. So I said, if your friends aren't talking about .md files, markdown files, RAG systems, LLMs, Claude Code, Codex, Cursor, AI agents, Hermes, OpenClaw, local models, Olama, Quen, DeepSeek, or AI skills, then I said get new friends. That's basically my synopsis of what I see in the next 5 to 10 years. Is if you guys aren't shifting your focus over to AI, you will literally be left behind to the point where I can't help you. And that sounds dismal because it is. There's too much opportunity right now to be sleeping. So just stay away from the fear mongers who are trying to say that AI music is the devil and all this type of stuff, stupid stuff, in my opinion, because it is so much deeper than AI music. Okay. And we can still make the argument for AI music. So go watch my last video and we'll continue the series. I just wanted to add these thoughts in. Peace out, guys.